Hello, I'm Cadet First Class Blake Baldwin. It is my privilege to welcome you to the 31st Annual National and Character and Leadership Presentation. Our honored guest for this morning's presentation is DeLovell Earls. He will be joined on stage with the moderator for this session, Cadet First Class Noah Blake. Mr. Earls, a U.S. Air Force Academy graduate, class of 2015, is the founder of the Gooder Giving Company, a philanthropic fundraising service and business platform that works with online donation registries for nonprofit organizations. He has evolved from careers as a two-time basketball team captain, assistant men's basketball coach, military training officer, and project manager in the U.S. Air Force Space Command, to a versatile, creative leader within his community and a self-published author of the children's book, What If? Since departing from the military in 2019, Mr. Earls has explored diverse career paths: cybersecurity, fitness product innovation, paper delivery, ice cream, teaching, basketball coaching, and varied technology-driven startups. He attended the U.S. Air Force Academy Preparatory School in 2011 and graduated in 2015 from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing. Mr. Earls confidently looks to the future and wields his creativity as a superpower. Committed to creating a better world, he aims to inspire others to harness their abilities for positive change and to add value through product, business, and mentorship opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. DeLovell Earls.
Thanks, Blake. Thank you for having me here today. I was a little overcome by emotions, remembering my first time on the Academy, kicking and screaming as I drove into basic training at the Air Force Academy Prep School. And to be back here in this capacity is truly an honor. I'm going to start off by reading the book. Let's go. All right. Oh, there's a lot of pictures of me. What if? This book is for the what-ifers. This book is for the daydreamers, the problem solvers, and the never-give-inners. It's for the big thinkers, the timid tinkerers, the pros and the beginners. It's for the believers and the doubters. It's for the scalers and the go-arounders. Open your mind. This book is for everyone, everywhere. What-ifers make this world better. Stand up and declare. I'll step out of the way a little bit. There are times when we can get stuck, things don't work, and we give up. We forget the powers that we have deep down. Our vision gets blurred. It hurts. We frown. But don't just sit there, pout or whine. Ask what if, tinker, design. What if didn't exist? Look around, would we have any of this? If what if was just a myth, instead of books, we'd have rocks and sticks. Instead of this house, we'd be in dark caves if nobody thought to light the way. We'd still be eating the coldest of foods if nobody said, "What if we had fire, dude?" We'd still be stuck on the same piece of ground without, "What if we could roll around?" I made a wheel, come try this out. We can go anywhere we want to now. But what about when the road ends? And we reach the sea? What if we swim? That would take 1,000,000 days. The ocean is filled with massive waves. I want to explore, but how do I do it? Think, there's a way that we can get through it. I found this wood, look, it floats. What if we use it to make a boat? There you go, I found some rope. I know a few knots, they'll work, I hope. There's something that you need to hear. The solution is not always clear. It's more than fine to make a guess. Try things out and fix the mess. Make small changes to challenge the norms and find new ways to soar through the storms. So ask what if and look towards the sky. What if one day we could fly? Working through the snow and rain, eventually we'll have a plane. The birds won't believe what they're seeing. Are those flying human beings? Let's keep going. Why stop there? We can go past our atmosphere. How might we explore the stars? What if we could live on Mars? With rocket ships, we'll hit the mark. We just need a little spark. Woohoo, blast off, are you all right? We're traveling at the speed of light. We don't even need a lunch, there's food in a tube that we can munch. All these gifts we have around us were once what-ifs and now surround us. But they don't appear in the blink of an eye. Inventing new things takes some time. It all starts when we ask questions and we turn our failures into lessons. Okay, now back to Earth. What problems do we solve first? There's so much here that we could fix. The people are waiting. The clock, it ticks. How might we make the world better? What if we put our brains together? Imagine all that we could achieve if we ask what if, work hard, and believe. So please, never settle for what is. Get curious and ask what ifs. Take your ideas and your big dreams, draw them out, and build bigger things. And remember to tell everyone like you to ask what if and create something new. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Earls, for sharing your book with us this morning. I would like now to welcome our moderator for today's session, Cadet First Class Noah Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Earls. Now for some questions. So to start off with, would it be possible for you to discuss kind of how the idea of what if came about and maybe some hurdles you had when creating the book?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So believe it or not, I wrote the original version of What If when I was at the prep school. And I'll just set the scene by telling you my apprehension to come into the academy a little bit. I was scared. I went to a high school where art was a huge thing, and to go into the academy, or what I thought the military was, I was a little nervous. And at first I would push back on the regiment a little bit, if you will. And I was just begging for something to do, to express myself creatively. And I remember my English teacher in the second semester finally just opened that door a little bit and said, "Hey, kids, today we're just gonna let you write poems." And I was like, "What? We don't have to write a structured paragraph or a structured essay. We just get to write a poem." And I jumped at that opportunity. And I thought back to a time in 5th grade when I explicitly remember my teacher banning what-if questions in class. And even as a 5th grader, I was still a little bit rebellious, and I thought that was insane for her to do. I get it. I work with kids now, and we can get pretty rambunctious, right? But at the time, I was kind of hurt by it. And kind of leading up to that point at the academy, or while at my time at the prep school, I thought back to that time when what-if questions were banned in class and how important truly it is to think about the what-ifs of the world. So I wrote a poem, and a little bit of it was bashing my 5th grade teacher for banning questions, and I set it down and just turned it in. We didn't have Google Drive back then, so I lost it. But, over the course of 10 years was kind of fighting, okay, what do I do next? Whether it was after basketball and not having a team around me, or getting out of the military and not having a team around me again. And during COVID, I went searching for that poem, couldn't find it, and I just went to rewrite a story about what if and the importance of being creative and thinking about all the possibilities that can happen.
Nice. So the second question I'm going to have is kind of with the what-if mentality, how has that carried you through maybe being a two-time basketball team captain or now an entrepreneur, and how has that looked in your life?
Good question. I don't think I truly developed this mindset or bought into this mindset until after getting out of the Air Force and going out into the world and making the decision like, okay, I'm going to work for myself from here on out. And it always go that way. I've worked with plenty of good people, but that's when I had to kind of adopt this mindset, like everything's going to be fine. There's opportunity and obstacles, and if I am observant and I'm diligent in making solutions, I can make a huge impact on this world. So I'd say as I was transitioning out of the military and through the hard times of COVID and just that transition period of what's next, that's where I really bought into this what if mindset and felt that was what was going to get me through.
So with the creative mindset, how did you balance being a cadet at the Air Force Academy with the creative and art side that you wanted to embrace so badly?
Yeah, I think that poem exercise at the prep school really opened my eyes to writing. Before I would paint, I would, work with clay, toyed with the idea of doing music here and there. But at the academy, we didn't have all those things. We certainly didn't have the time for all those things, right? Whether it's studying for GRs or all the classes that I wasn't too great at, and then managing basketball. So I really got into writing. So on the bus, after a game, or in the hotel, in my cadet room, whenever inspiration came, whether it was an idea for something, or a song, or a poem, I just wrote it down in my phone. So my phone's littered with hundreds of little poems and whatnot.
Got it.
And that's how Creative Notes app. Yeah.
There you go. So how did being a basketball team captain, I know we've talked about it earlier, but you kind of talked to me and told me that maybe you wish you had taken some more opportunities as a cadet. What do you think that would look like if you could go back?
Yeah. I mean, for all my cadets out there and people that work here at the school, I think you'll agree with me in the sense, and for you especially, like, we kind of get here and we go into this tunnel of how do I get through this place? How do I make it through this place? And for me, I kind of put my blinders on and focused on basketball. And with that, I missed out on a lot of things. I mean, basketball is my love. It's what I want to do. It's what I was good at. But there was a lot of squadron activities that I didn't even hear about, like, until after I graduated. A lot of opportunities within the cadet wing, traveling overseas that I just didn't pursue because I was focused on graduating and playing basketball. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I remember I had an upperclassman tell me, like, why are you here? Like during recognition or something. And him being like, if it's for sports, that's okay. Like, that's okay. That's your journey. We're all on different journeys. One book I really like is Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it really illuminated the fact that we're all going through our own thing. We're all on our separate journeys, and we kind of, our cycle of the hero's journey intersect at different points, and we can be helpful to others. And for me, it was sports. So yes, I wish I got to jump out of a plane. I wish I got to fly. I wish I got to go overseas and get better at Spanish. And even after the academy, the different things that take place, or that they've started doing, like the design companies that help out with Air Force and whatnot, and the military. Like, I wish I would have gone after that stuff, but I kept those blinders on a little bit too long. Got it.
And how did that perspective maybe change after your injuries? Because I know we talked about that, and that was a pretty big part of your cadet career.
Totally. Yeah, so my sophomore year, I was starting quite a few games my sophomore year, and I developed a bump on my shin. And I grew up playing soccer. A bump on the shin is just another day in the life of being a soccer player. And, just being an athlete, I just kept playing. I probably played 9 games on this bum shin. And after the season ended, my trainer, Ernie, said, all right, take a couple weeks off. And took a couple weeks off and just went to go shoot jump shots one day. And my shin is still really bothering me just with jump shots. And so after my best year, my sophomore year, he was like, hey, I want you to go get an x-ray, just check it out. And they discovered that I had a hairline fracture in my shin that could lead to a pretty serious break. And in fact, this was what I found out later, career-ending injury in a lot of cases, as small as that break was. But that, fighting to get back on the team, I mean, I always had a place on the team, but fighting to get minutes back and play an important role on the court, I realized I wasn't the same player anymore. And that's when my perspective really had to change of basketball's not forever, sports aren't forever. What am I going to do next? And I think it was, after a hard junior season where I could practice a day, sit out, play a game, sit out, I was like, okay, yeah, this is coming to an end. And it was an introduction into innovations class with management where my eyes really got opened up to the world of entrepreneurship and creating things. And that was a pivot point in my trajectory of what I was going to do. Yeah.
So going on to the entrepreneurship and maybe post-academy life for you, I know we've talked about, and Blake didn't touch on it, but you did everything from paper boy to working with ice cream companies. And could you talk about going back to the what if mindset of how you just kind of persevered and continued to move forward, building yourself throughout?
Yeah, my dad's in the crowd, and he'll tell you I was pretty stubborn in this phase of getting out of the Air Force. He served in the military, and him seeing my path through the Air Force Academy, he was like, "Why don't you go get a job at Northrop? Why don't you go make some money, dude?" And I'm like, I need a break. I don't love that stuff. I want to create something. I want to make something. And I had to push back on him with countless talks, and we've had multiple conversations recently about that time, and I appreciate him for that. But I had to kind of swallow my pride and look at the world through opportunity. So literally, I would go on Craigslist and just see what are people doing these days. Like, why is Craigslist a thing? Oh, there's a paperboy job. What is this all about? Why do people still get newspapers when we have everything that we need on our phone? So, got out as a captain, and here I go and walking into the Gazette asking for a paperboy job. And I think, has anybody been a paperboy before? I did not know you had to show up at 1:30 a.m., bag all your papers, and then they hand you this packet of every address on your route. And the ones that are in bold, you throw a paper out at. So I did that for about 6 days. It was through Christmas, and I was like, I can't. There's no days off. I was like, yep, I don't want to be a paper boy. But at the time, I was also creating the fitness product, a multifunctional foam roller, got the patent for that, and was pushing that pretty hard as well. But I just looked at the world like everything around us was made by, I think Steve Jobs says that everything around us was made by somebody no smarter than you and me. And I was just like, awesome. Like, I want to make something. I want to make an impact. And, so I'm teaching innovations class to a group of kids, and the pandemic hits, and John of Josh and John's needs help making ice cream. And I could have said, hey, I'm too good to make ice cream. I should be making $100K a year right now. But I was like, yeah, I'll make ice cream. Let's see what this is about. And then that developed into me doing more business consulting and automating a lot of his business and streamlining his operations and whatnot. And I remember a time I was loading pints at the downtown location. A group of cadets walk in, and they got, some clothes on. They might have just been dressed funny, but I knew they were cadets. And, I asked them what squad they're in, and they're like, 34 or whatever. And I go, I was in 40. And they go, you, loading pints, were in 40? I was like, yeah, I graduated. They're like, what are you doing? Is this my life? Did they lie to me? And I just had to kind of chuckle and be like, hey man, like I'm on my path. Like I have friends that are pilots and I'm so proud of them. My prep school roommate was on the rescue mission in Afghanistan a couple years ago, and I'm just like, wow. But at the same time, I gotta I know this is my path that I'm on, and I have to stay confident in that.
That's awesome. Following yourself, your true self.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going off of, you talked about, really wanting to do good for people, do well for the world, invent something that's going to help. Could you kind of talk about the Good or Giving Company, your company?
Yeah, so I'll take you through like my mindset growing up. Like growing up on the southeast side of Colorado Springs, my parents did their best. We didn't have everything I wanted, for sure. So I've always been a dreamer, and my dream was to play pro sports and give back to the community as much as possible. Pro sports doesn't work out. Now I will do anything, make a business, get rich, and give back. And, I've come up with a lot of ideas that didn't truly speak to who I was as a person and who I became at the Air Force Academy and the character that I really wanted to exemplify, for the people coming up after me, be it my sisters or whatever. And I really shifted into this, to the social impact realm. And Good or Giving Company, it's still in the works. If you go look it up, I got a pretty sweet landing page, if I do say so myself. But I've only done a couple pilot programs with a couple nonprofits. But the whole idea about that, basically, I'm bringing wedding registries to nonprofits to give more transparency to donors and bring nonprofits that are somewhat archaic in some ways to the digital realm. So for the last year and a half, I've been testing this concept of how do I help nonprofits, and me as one person, how can I make the most impact? And for that answer with Good or Giving Company is, how do I help people help people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So going off of your book, What If, and thank you again for reading that for us, I heard that you have another book coming out. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I don't know when that's coming out. I think I have like 5 different versions of the next book. But I've really just been, so I wrote this book, I published it a year and a half ago. And it kind of started as a side project, and I just wanted to see what it would do. I wrote the book for myself. And it was one of my classmates, or actually he was a year older than me, but one of my best friends from my childhood, who also graduated from the Air Force Academy, will be back teaching here soon, said, you have to make that a children's book. And I go, I don't know how to make a children's book, but I did it. And so I've kind of just been like, what's this going to do? And just kind of letting it breathe. Mm-hmm. And, I'm so thankful for my community and for really spreading the word. I've done really well on selling copies I've posted 4 times on Instagram, right? I've gotten the opportunity to come back and speak at the Air Force Academy because of this book. It was always my goal to come back here and speak. I just thought it was going to be when I was 60 years old and was the CEO of some big company, not a children's book author. It's a great book, but what was your question?
I was asking about
the next book, yeah. So What If? What If is all about the mindset, developing this mindset. It stems from design thinking, which is, how do we design products and implementing that into other elements of the world. And so in there, it's sprinkled, how might we questions and stuff like that. And it's just a introduction to design thinking. What next? Sorry, the next book is probably going to be called What's Next? And in that, it'll be introducing the tools, the actual tools to design thinking, talking about empathy, defining the problem, ideating, prototyping, testing, and just the cycle of that. I think I'm going to introduce the kid's little sister to pay homage to my little sisters as characters in this book, and maybe a little Pandora's box element to it. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll see.
Got it.
But what's next?
So talking about the athletic foam roller that you created, and you have the IP for it. Can you talk to us about how challenging that's been for you, and maybe some of the steps, like you talked about flying to go talk to the head of TRX, and
Right.
kind of just how you've persevered through that and what your journey has been.
Okay, I'll try to so I came up with, my first drawing on a napkin was in 2015. So I'll try to boil down 9 years in 30 seconds. But I drew it on a napkin, had this idea after my injury of a product. Are we familiar with foam rollers? Okay, so I invented a foam roller, took a hollow foam roller and engineered it to open up like a briefcase, if you will, to hold a yoga mat, other mobility tools. Came with a stretching strap that clicks onto both sides. You could tote it around, take your practice on the road with you. I drew it on a napkin. I took it to the same best friend that told me to write a book, and he said, let's build it. So we went straight to Home Depot. We built a prototype that night, and it is the worst thing you've ever seen. It's ugly. And then we embarked on this journey of testing and getting feedback and prototyping. I'll tell 2 stories with it. After my first year working at the prep school, I go out to, I don't know what I'm doing, and we're not sharing the idea with anybody because we're scared somebody's going to steal our crazy idea. But I go out to California, and back to Craigslist I go. I find a civil engineer on Craigslist. Do not go looking for a civil engineer on Craigslist. He got us pretty good. We dumped about $20K in with him. He gave us, to quote the manufacturer we took his product to, our product to, you guys built this in your basement? Like, this is awesome. No, we spent way too much money on this. So there was our first failure. You know, $20K for second lieutenant, a couple second lieutenants is a good chunk of money. And we just kind of had to treat it as a sunk cost and keep moving. You know, didn't really say anything to him, but we got aligned with the right people that actually knew what they were doing and could design for manufacturing. And then after a few, we'd probably made 100 prototypes between drawings and physical prototypes. But a few more prototypes later, then we were at the point to where we could start pitching it to companies. You know, now we're at year 5, right? So the story he's talking about with TRX, I made a connection in town with a company that already had a product with TRX. I wanted to go the licensing route instead of the B2C route, business to consumer route. And I started pinpointing these companies that I'd love to talk to. We're talking the Nikes of the world. Are we familiar with TRX, the straps, black and yellow? You know, TRX, Lululemon, like I had these all on my vision board. Like I want to talk to somebody at that company. So what I would do was I would just go on LinkedIn and find anybody that worked at that company or anybody that had a product that got licensed by that company, and I would introduce myself. And just ask for 15 minutes of their time where I could show them the first version of it. You saw the second version of our video yesterday, but the first version of our video was way worse. And I would show them that video and get some interest. And I made a connection that had a product at TRX. And he said, hey, I know I have a product at TRX, but I don't really know the guy that well, but I'll do it intro email. And if he likes it, he'll get a meeting. If he doesn't, you won't hear from him. And that's all I needed was, hey, I'm going to put an email out there. So I flew out to San Francisco. Scratch that. I drove out to San Francisco, and I slept on my friend's couch for about 2 weeks. And I was coaching soccer at the time, and soccer season was approaching pretty quickly. But I told myself I wasn't coming back to Colorado until I had a meeting with the CEO of TRX, a $50 million company, you know, probably valued a couple $100 million. And I would just wait by my computer every day for this meeting with this one guy. And it finally happened, and we got tacos. He's a Navy SEAL, Stanford grad. I was so nervous. But he was the coolest guy, and what I really learned at that time is like most people want to help. And as nervous as I was, he just made me feel like one of his friends, and we ate tacos for the first 30 minutes, and then I pulled out my big foam roller on the taco table and gave him the pitch, and he gave me a feedback. And, I remember telling my friends two of my best friends when we started the project, like, hey, this probably won't work, but we're gonna learn a lot. And that meeting there has ignited me for any venture that I go on from here on out. Obviously, I don't have $1 million to my name. I don't have, $10,000 to my name right now because I'm on this grind. So it didn't work out. But we've kept in touch, and I'm still on this path of trying to get that product done and more stuff.
And so, I'd like you just to go through a bit, I believe last question, about kind of your experiences with, or how you look at the new experiences and how you kind of view, say, going from being a captain to a paper boy, and like, how do you stay so humble throughout all of that?
I think one big part in my journey was I experienced the death of my sister when she was 4, when I was 13. And as a kid, seeing her battle cancer for a couple years, seeing my family go through that, I just realized life is short. And, you don't really know. You don't truly know when your time is going to end. And I'm going to do what I want. And I'm going to go after it pretty hard. And I'm going to try to help people along as much as I can just to make myself happy and make this world a better place. So any big decision that I come up to, any transition period, the time after basketball, for all my athletes out there, after your sport, like that's a tough transition. I took it pretty hard. It's everything I knew growing up, right? It, in a lot of ways, was my identity. And each transition, each pivot gets a little bit easier because you learn a little bit more about yourself and you learn how to navigate those times. And, now I look at each challenge and I try to look at each challenge and opportunity after I go, oh crap, with a perspective of, this could be the most amazing thing for me, or I'm going to learn something from this experience, or I'm going to meet somebody, and that's how I try to approach those times now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Earls, Cadet Blake, thank you for sharing your conversation with us this morning. Sir, you really have done it all, and I think you made that pretty clear today. At this time, I would like to open the floor to questions from the audience. We have about 10 minutes. There are microphones on either side. So if you have questions, please come up, and Mr. Earls will take them. Again, we got about 10 minutes. Chief Diaz.
Mr. Earls, thank you so much for sharing such an amazing story. You're definitely a unicorn. As I've experienced my time here at the Air Force Academy, I see time and time again where our students are really focused on just specific things. I want to be a pilot, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and you've blown the lid off of that concept. So my question for you, as you've explored life and the journey that you've been on, how do you define success? Thank you.
Yeah, how do I define success? Thank you for that question. It's been a battle. At first, I thought it was money in the bank, right? And now it's just enjoying my time and truly making other people successful. I'm a high school basketball coach. It's one of the most challenging things I've ever done, coaching high school. And I tell them that success, I take it from a quote from Coach Wooden, one of the best coaches of all time, if not the best coach of all time. Success is just fulfilling your potential. It's not so much as, how much money you make, how many championships you win, but it's truly going in and working as hard as you can and pursuing something and reaching your potential. And we all have different potentials, or we all have different inlines, goals in mind. So there's not one true definition. Everyone's definition of success is going to be different, but I think it's the pursuit which makes you successful.
Mr. Earls, Cadet Wilson from the University of Miami, Detachment 155 Air Force ROTC. Thank you again for your reading off the book and explaining your story a little bit. My question for you today, sir, is can you explain a little bit about the importance of and how do you find the balance between creativity and logic in terms of leadership as us becoming junior leaders in our respective services, as well as like leading individuals under us and solving problems, et cetera?
Absolutely. I've, in my time at the academy, I've quickly realized I'm not the smartest guy in the room a lot of the times, which is great. I love to be in those rooms. And even with my team or teams that I've led, I've always just tried to empower others to be a part of the process, to implement their ideas, and that's how I lead. I don't want to stifle anybody's creativity. I'd say no idea is a dumb idea. I really take this design process and try to implement it when I'm leading small teams, big teams, if I'm just talking with one person, mentoring somebody. I try to just open their mind like, hey, this is going to be tough, but we're just going to try. We're going to try things. And there's times for that. Obviously, there's times where you need to move quickly or find an answer really quickly. But for the most part, I take a design approach to leadership and solving problems that we are faced with as a team.
As a follow-up, sir, I noticed that you're very humble with your career progression as well as the terms of you taking leadership. So how much does humility play in, career progression as well and leadership?
I am so humble. I'm the most humble person ever. I don't know. I think it's kind of my upbringing, and I think being the oldest of three little sisters, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful, and it's just more of a sense of gratitude, and again, like nothing is for certain, and I've just realized that there are so many people that helped me get to where I am. It's not like I wanted to quit many times. I didn't want to come here. I didn't want to stay here. There's so many people that played a role in who I am now that I'd be crazy to be like, yeah, I'm that guy. Like, I don't know. I appreciate the people around me so much. Yeah, thank you.
We do have time for one more question. We'll get you both. That's okay. We'll get you both.
Sorry, can I just hi, I'm Cadet Ubias from the University of New Mexico, and I just have a question. I know you mentioned you have a couple different versions of your poems. What goes into your decision making when you have your final outcome?
Sure, yeah. So this book, I wrote probably 100 different versions of it, but I got an editor, and I shared it with friends, and moving stanzas around, changing the ending multiple times. There comes a point you can overanalyze and change things a lot, but there comes a point when you're like, okay, this just feels right. This feels good. I don't know if there's a exact science to it. For me, it's just like, it's good enough, and it's time. And that's why we have this one. There might be a second edition where I change some words around or, change a picture. But you don't want to overanalyze. You don't want that analysis or paralysis by analysis. So eventually it's good enough, and you just have to go.
To follow on to that, talking about the design process, they say that you can't both think creatively and critically. Do you separate those like separate days, or do you have like a creative brainstorming session and then essentially criticize in the same day?
No, I just go with the flow. To be honest, when I could be on the road driving and get inspiration from something, have to hop on my voice app to just so I can remember it in the future. I can be in the middle of practice. I don't typically separate those. I tried the time blocking thing. I've tried waking up early and meditating and just looking at a whiteboard. It's just, for me, it doesn't work like that. It's just, it comes at random moments. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Earls, thank you again for your time today. Your experiences and presentation truly speak to how we can embrace culture and empower people. On behalf of the United States Air Force Academy and our National Character and Leadership Symposium, please accept this token of our gratitude. The base of this gift is made out of marble from our terrazzo. As you know, this is foundational to us because of all the cadets that have had to run the marble strips during their freshman year. We hope this brings back good memories of your time here, and we'll look on this and remember your NCLS experience fondly. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our session. Please share your immediate feedback with the NCLS app. Select this session and click on the Rate Session button. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.